Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
A PLP candidate whose billboard was defaced over the weekend speaks out. That story straight ahead.
How has the Progressive Liberal Party delivered on its campaign promises? A closer look at the Free National Movement's manifesto. Plus, the F&M leader steps up in defense of a candidate under fire.
Our news is brought to you by Alive, the nation's newest and best LTE network.
Good to be alive.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina McNeil. Topping news tonight, photos of 3 vandalized Progressive Liberal Party billboards have made their way around social media over the weekend. And now one of the candidates whose image was defaced is speaking out. Golden Isles MP Michael Halkitis called the act cowardly, but insists it will not deter his campaign. Jasmine Brown reports.
Halkitis says the way he sees it, there's no need to run dirty campaigns in the weeks running up to the next general election.
There's no need to molest anybody else, and at the end of the day, the Bahamian people will speak.
Halkitis was not the only person to be targeted. PLP candidate for Seabreeze, Hope Strawn, also had her billboard vandalized with black spray paint, while PLP candidate for Long Island, Glendon Roll, had his face cut out of a party billboard. Halkitis spoke with our news team as he and his supporters were in a motorcade to the PLP's Family Fun Day on Arawak Key. He called the vandalism an act of desperation.
I think what it is we're in that season now. It's intensifying and emotions run high. I would just like to encourage everybody, leave each other's stuff alone, So, that's all I can say. We want to have an orderly election. It's almost here. After election, we're going to have to live in this country and work together.
The vandalism comes less than a week after Prime Minister Perry Christie called for a peaceful campaign season. While announcing the May 10th election date last Monday, Christie called for candidates to run a clean campaign and supporters to act civilly. Last week, 2 F&M candidates' constituency offices were broken into and the Fort Charlotte headquarters was vandalized. Meantime, Halkitis says he and his team will not be discouraged.
Unfortunate, but we won't be distracted by that. We took it down, we put up a fresh one. What we are concentrating on now is making sure that we intensify our door-to-door campaign. We're running on our record of achievement.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
And the Progressive Liberal Party has laid out its action plan for the next 5 years, but how has the governing party done on delivering on the promises it outlined in its 2012 Charter for Governance? A former PLP MP says there are mixed views on the party's performance during this current term.
There have been a number of things, I believe, that the government has done that they have not publicly provided the public. They have not marketed properly. They have not really informed the people about what they have done in a way that people can understand. Well, this is what we've been able to achieve.
Former PLP MP Philip Galanis says this administration set its eyes on many ideas and innovations in the 2012 Charter for Governance, but it may have done a poor job of communicating its achievements to the Bahamian people, especially when it comes to controversial issues such as value-added tax, web shops, and national health insurance.
And one of the things it did, and I think did so quite effectively, is introduce the VAT, the value-added tax. I don't think it's done a sufficiently adequate job of reporting to the people of where the money went. And I think that is perhaps, the negative of what has been a very positive development for our country. Delivery. I think the government, for example, delivered on the web shops. Even though it went against the will of the people, it said it was going to do something about the web shops, and it did. The government said it wanted to do something about national health insurance, and while it's not been implemented, I think there's a clearly defined vision about where it wants to go, although it hasn't been able to deliver on how it wants to get there.
Back in 2012, the PLP's Charter for Governance promised to deliver solutions for a wide range of challenges facing the nation at the time, beginning with fighting crime, creating jobs, and securing our borders. Galanis says the party's performance, coupled with the current state of the economy and perception of crime, will have a big impact on which way the upcoming election goes.
Generally, there's been, in light of the tremendous amount of uncertainty in the economy, a general ability to manage the affairs of the country in a way that people believe would enable them or entitle them to another term. And there's a certain amount of a level of uncertainty about whether or not the opposition is going to come up with better plans, because it really hasn't articulated better plans. And so, you know, it's really very difficult to say.
Meanwhile, Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis is promising more details about his proposed over-the-hill tax relief plan.
We want to create a tax-free zone within the inner city, and the boundaries are well defined. We think that would help the community. It would help to improve the quality of life, the conditions of the homes. We want to remove the outdoor facilities that exist, no thanks to Perry Christie. And we want to ensure that individuals have proper running water, proper health care.
Minnis insists some of those details can be found in the party's manifesto.
There are more details that will come out with time. There was certain information that we wanted to get, but we can only get those information from Urban Renewal. And obviously, we would not get that information from Urban Renewal. But we have our plans. We know exactly. You must remember, Freeport is a tax-free zone. It works there. They have done it in different parts of the state. It works. You improve the quality of life of individuals. That's what governments are supposed to do. Improve the quality of life and individuals' conditions. Create opportunities for them so that they can establish businesses, expand businesses, and the private sector create more jobs.
The current F&M manifesto does not mention how a tax exemption plan would be structured. While it mentions the need for fiscal discipline, it does not detail plans to properly manage public funds. Minnis says there is another document that will be issued containing more details.
So our manifesto will have a lot of specifics, but still, there are still some details that would not be in the manifesto itself. And as you speak to us, as you speak to individuals, candidates, etc., they would be able to talk about education. They would be able to talk about environment. They'd be able to talk about health. They'd be able to talk about the various different things.
While Free National Movement leader Dr. Hubert Minnis is slamming Progressive Liberal Party Chairman Bradley Roberts for his recent attacks on the F&M's candidate for North Eleuthera, Howard Ricky Mackey. Jasmine Brown has that story.
Roberts threatened to drop some more bombshells about Mackey after Holy Week ends and the 2017 general election campaigns heat up. Minnis accused Roberts of being bored and idle, insisting the F&M and Mackey should be the least of his concerns.
Bradley Roberts needs to worry about himself and worry about the issues within the PLP. Don't worry about us. We're focused.
Last week, F&M Chairman Sidney Cawley fired back at Roberts, saying the F&M has bombshells of its own. Cawley also defended the party's vetting process amid criticisms from those who question how Mackey was ratified, despite owing $9,500 to the Bahamas government for customs duties, which he committed in writing to pay. It was Roberts who revealed during a PLP event in Hatchet Bay, Eleuthera last month that Mackey had failed to settle the 15-year tax debt. In response, Mackey said he had completely forgotten about the settlement agreement and had since paid the money owed in full. Minnis says the unwarranted attacks are simply an act of desperation by the PLP. He says at the end of the day, there is nothing the PLP can do to save its sinking ship.
And Bradley Roberts, Perry Christie, their employment status stops at 8 p.m. the 20th of May.
The F&M leader added that unlike the PLP, his focus is not on the personal attacks, but fighting to the finish in the battle for leadership of the country.
We were only waiting for him to say, this is the date, that is the finish line, and now we can continue to cruise along.
Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Still to come on our News, political campaigns pick up speed as the election approaches. That's coming up when our News returns.